We have a lot of moving pieces in today's news. Obviously, let's be honest. We are here for one reason and one reason alone, to talk about LeBron James no longer being a Los Angeles Laker. Who am I kidding you? The title is Welcome Back 2019. So Kawhi Leonard, I don't know if you know this, is going to be a Toronto Raptor. I did an expert job of photoshopping what that would look like in for the video. Obviously, I'm great at Photoshop, and that's why this image in the video is here. If you think it looks familiar, nah. Okay, so Kawhi is being moved back to the Toronto Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, 2 first-round picks, a first-round pick swap, two second-rounders. We don't know the final details of the deal yet, but these are what he's reportedly being moved for. They're nearing a deal to finish this. Let's be completely honest with what's going on here in this deal. The Clippers were in a position where they were basically going to lose Kawhi for nothing if they did not trade him, right? So they had to trade him. So when you have to trade a player, his value is inherently lower, right? And with Kawhi giving them only 2 destinations, realistically, the San Antonio Spurs, which I discussed in great length over there, and then the Toronto Raptors, which I did not discuss in greater length because I didn't think it would happen because I thought it made no sense. It was like Kawhi was a 1-year rental there, and the Toronto money is not the same as being in the U.S. in one of these states like Texas. Having your dollar is worth more in Texas than it is in Toronto because you're paying taxes for stuff. Especially considering I know Kawhi is not going to live in Toronto or want to be anywhere near Toronto, to be quite honest. I think he would just take the drive up and live in the States, most likely. Yeah, but there's that. So, obviously Kawhi's won a finals MVP with this team. Obviously Kawhi is probably the greatest player in franchise history, and I know he only played 1 year there. It's really between him, Vince Carter, and I guess Chris Bosh, but to be quite honest, none of those guys have any playoff success. And then after that comes DeMar DeRozan, which he was traded for in the deal, and they immediately won a championship, and he immediately left afterwards. So it's between Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, and I guess DeMar DeRozan, but I would think that if anything you say for Kyle, you would be able to say for DeMar. So, yeah, there's that. All right, so the value that the Raptors got in this trade is really good. The value that the Clippers got was negative. Let's talk about Brandon Ingram. Obviously, I've been clowning on Brandon Ingram the entirety of the postseason because he was one of the worst players in the playoff. And that injury actually helped this Raptors team. Why did it help this Raptors team? Well, one, they knew they were not going to have Brandon Ingram on the roster next year because of everything we saw in the postseason. 2, Grady Dick was another asset that they were desperately trying to get rid of because they did not play him a little bit. So getting any value out of him, let alone Kawhi Leonard, props to that. Again, don't know what the first round picks are. I don't know who the second round swaps are. Sorry, a second round swap. Actually, they're not really making it clear which is the swap, but yeah. Anyway, I don't really give a fuck about those picks. I don't care, right? One, I have no idea when the picks are literally going to be there, and 2, more importantly, I'm a big fan of the now, and I don't give a fuck about what's in the mystery box. Okay, so let's talk about this. Summer Dieng signing a 3-year, $17.5 million deal to return to the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, he was a former OKC player. He was traded at the middle of the season. But the Bucks seem interested in him enough to re-sign him. They don't really have much to look forward to, so this makes a lot of sense. DeAndre Jordan is gearing up to play his 19th NBA season with the New Orleans Pelicans. I wanted to call them the Orlando Magic because their new coach is the former head coach of the Orlando Magic. Tim Hardaway Jr. has agreed to a deal with the Miami Heat. What is the deal? $6.5 million to the Miami Heat. This team desperately needed shooting, and if there was anyone in the league that shot really well on open threes, which Giannis is capable of generating, it's Tim Hardaway Jr. You have to send 2 to Giannis, and Giannis is actually a great passer at this point in his career. So there's that. That helps a lot. A lot of there's been a lot of Miami moves. There's been a lot of LA moves. There's been a lot of moves in general. But like, man. Okay, let's see. We finally know what we got more news for what that picks were actually going to be. The Clippers will receive an unprotected first-round pick in 2031. That's not bad. 2033. That's also not that bad. And 2030 and 2033 second-round pick swaps with the 2027 first-round pick swap. 2030 and 2033 are the second-round picks, and the 2027 first-round pick swap. That's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. Free agent 7-footer Brandon Carlson has agreed to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Portland Trailblazers. Good for him. Kobe Sanders, a former Clippers player. I'm saying former. No, he's actually returning to the Clippers. I'm surprised. Good for him. He was pretty good for them last year. He was a rookie, and he played quite well for them. Not bad. Not bad. All right, this is part of the video where I talk about the dismantleization of the Cavs and the fact that we're still gonna have James Harden on this roster with even less depth, which makes no sense because the entire reason this team was good in the first place was because of the depth surrounding the core four. So, my driving her how big that Harden deal is, but if we've had to move off a couple of players, so it's probably pretty freaking big. It's probably pretty freaking big. Keon Ellis is going to be a Brooklyn Nets at the start of the next season. He is going to be making, let's see, sorry, the website refreshed for no reason at all. 2 years, $18 million, that's $9 million a season. A guaranteed deal with the Brooklyn Nets. That's good for him. We did not use him as much as I thought we would. His spacing is the problem. His lack of shooting was the thing that we were talking about. Letting him walk for nothing is not ideal. But I can't imagine anyone would be willing to trade for him, and that's cool for him to go to Brooklyn. It's fine. Let's see, what does it say? Insurance contains a fully mutual option that fully guarantees $18 million for Keon Ellis, while allowing both sides to have conversations about a new deal next summer. But either party can opt in, not opt out. Oh, that's actually, I've never seen a deal structure like that, actually. So if Keon Ellis is valued, I think he's pretty much just locked into that $9 million a season. Because if he plays really good if he plays really good for the money, the team is going to opt in and give him the $9 million and not try to renegotiate a contract. If he plays really bad, he's going to opt in for the contract. So the beneficial thing for him to do is just worry about playing well, which is fine. I like that. Luke Kennard has agreed to sign this is big for them. This kind of sucks, actually. Free agent sharpshooter Luke Kennard has agreed to sign a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Phoenix Suns. The Suns lost out on shooting when they traded away a Grayson Allen. Luke Kennard is pretty much the better version of that, at least at this point in his career. Yeah, we're seeing some good moves out of Phoenix, actually. I don't think there'll be anything special, but that's something. Free agent center Zach Collins. Zach Collins is still in the NBA. Anyway, $17 million contract extension to stay with the Chicago Bulls over the course of 2 years. $8.5 million a season for Zach Collins is fucking nuts. Yeah, this is heartbreaking. The best D Wade in Cavaliers history is going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, the page refreshed for no reason. Never asked it to do that. Very cool. Luce's move is not as high up as as far down as the other ones. So there's that. How much is he going to be making? 4 years, $30 million. This team needed shooting and defense, and Keon Ellis did not provide the shooting, but I think he could have been valuable in providing some defense to this team. D Wade definitively played great defense for this team. It was one of the best deterrents and a nuisances to Scotty Barnes and Cade Cunningham. This also freed up Evan Mobley to be better offensively and not have to deal with the team's best offensive player as well. This sucks. This sucks, and I don't want to pretend that it doesn't suck. I hate this. I might put my Cavalier fandom on hold because they're making some offseason moves that are just generally pissing me the fuck off. Bogdanovich has agreed to a one-year deal to go to the Houston Rockets. The Rockets executives have recruited him, and now tonight landed an established playoff tested shooter for his 10th NBA season. He's not anything. He's not anything at this point in his career. He's a very cheap. It's probably going to be a very, very, very cheap deal that I'm not surprised about at all. Something that is very surprising is that the Lakers did not pick up Marcus Smart. They decided to let him walk in free agency and let him become a Houston Rocket. The former Defensive Player of the Year will be getting a 2-year, $13 million deal for Houston. This reminds me, honestly, of when the Sixers got Al Horford. But, like, it has even less history than that. Marcus Smart gave these niggas the blues in the playoffs, and also Luke Kennard also gave the Rockets the blues in the playoffs. Now neither one of them are Los Angeles Lakers after how well they played. That's just insane to me. Like, cool for them, but like that's crazy. Free agent John Collins has gotten a 3-year, $51 million deal to sign to the Detroit Pistons. He's got to be coming off the bench and occupying that spot that Isaiah Stewart once did, right? Because what exactly is the point of this otherwise? Pistons pursue Collins as a top target and expected power forward, starting at the power forward. Oh, starting. Huh. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like him as a starter. Like at all. I said they were gonna lose out on Norman Powell pretty much guaranteed. It would be nice to re-sign him, but they didn't. Norman Powell has agreed to a 2-year, $45 million deal to become a Chicago Bull. The Bulls should be tanking. Why are you signing former All-Stars to contracts like this? I don't get it. I don't get it. That's something. All right. Actually, that's a cheaper deal than what Wiggins just got from the Heat. It's interesting, certainly. Oh, I don't even know who the hell this guy is. Ariel Hockeyport has agreed to a 1-year, $3.4 million deal to become a 76er. D Wade is also a 76er now, and that just fuck me, man. I hate that. Free agent Nikola Vucevic has agreed to a 1-year, $3.9 million deal to return to the Orlando Magic. Good for him, man. He did a lot of work for this team throughout the early 2000s. Now, this team is in desperate need of some veteran leadership. He can bring some spacing to the court. That can help him a lot. And obviously, he's played in Orlando so long that why would he want to be anywhere else at this point in his career? Especially if, like, the whole going to the Celtics did not work. Did not contend. They wouldn't offer him a deal. I don't think Vucevic was even worried about being... Vucevic was probably worried about being in the NBA right now. So that's fine. Mike Conley, who is entering his 20th season, has agreed to sign a 1-year deal with the Boston Celtics. What? Very interesting. I don't even know what he's gonna get. Probably a vet minimum, right? Has to be at this point. Why? Mo Wagner has agreed to a 2-year, $19 million deal to go to the Brooklyn Nets. The deal contains another mutual option allowing either sides to opt in, along with having a conversation with a new contract next offseason. So that's the second time the Brooklyn Nets have orchestrated a deal like this, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact same money. No, it's slightly more for 2 role players. It's not bad. I've never seen a move like this before, so I'm not really sure what to think of it. But I think this is generally a good move. I am pretty interested in how this will play out for both of those guys. That's something I'll keep a tab of over the course of the season. I'm not going to be obviously watching a lot of Brooklyn Nets games because they're not going to be a team that's contending, and they're not going to be a team that's going to be really any good. But it'll be something to look out for. Obviously, Mo Wagner is no longer playing on a team with his brother, but, he barely played last year anyway. He was very injured, and when Franz was playing, and it seems like when he was playing, Franz was injured. So the dream of them getting to play together really didn't pan out. Sorry, something got into my eye. I think it was an eyelash. Javante Carter has agreed to a 1 year, $3.4 million deal. Sorry, 1 year, $3.5 million deal to stay with the Orlando Magic. This is not really an interesting move at all. This is something. This is something, but not really something to really think about for more than 5 seconds. Here's something to think about for more than 5 seconds. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson, he got his championship. He out of there, bro. He up out of there. Guess where he's going to be playing? You guessed it. Stinky Boston. Boston obviously needed a big, and Mike Brown gave them the blueprint of what to do with this guy if he's just being fouled. He's getting the hack-a-mitch. They won a championship with this guy despite the fact that he is a complete negative at the free throw line. This is very interesting, and I think it kind of... I think it's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do with him. I don't know how they'll utilize him. They obviously have Portugal's first NBA player. So that's something. I think that's in it. I think this could be interesting. I think both of those guys are going to be fighting for spots. Keita gets into a situation where he's really getting dumb fouls. What Mitchell Robinson can do for you, and I know this sounds kind of dumb, but like, hear me out. If you manage your timeouts well enough, and Mitchell is getting hacked, you can pull him out of the game before he gets hacked on one of the plays while they're inbounding, right? And you'll be in the bonus most likely at that point. And the rest of the team is great free throw shooters, so being in the bonus inherently puts defenses in a pretty bad situation. It's fine to foul him because when he's on the court, he's a negative at the free throw line. This does grind the offense to a halt. But if you're able to get him out in time, that can actually make it where so your offense becomes even more lethal and efficient. And a team that is so numbers focused as the Boston Celtics are, I'm quite sure they can see the advantages of having that, especially considering what Mike Brown just showed you can do with it. All right, so I was talking about Walker Kessler, and I did want to mention this, but I did not mention this. I failed to mention this. The Utah Jazz, right, haven't been in good contract talks with man, let's try this again. The Utah Jazz have not been in great contracts with contract talks with the Walker Kessler. There was a lot of a situation where he reportedly wanted more, and the Lakers have acquired him. Let's see what he acquired him for. The Lakers are acquiring Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz for an unprotected 2031 first round pick and 2033. A first round pick swap between 2028 and 2030. And they will sign him to a massive, Sean thinks this is massive by the way, 4-year, $130 million deal. So, two things. Walker Kessler is not a lob threat. Walker can dunk the ball, but he is not one of those vertical spacers, right? Whereas instead of like a horizontal spacer. So, I would consider the corners horizontal, right? The top of the key threes are, when you're thinking about spacers, you're really not thinking about top of the key threes. You're probably talking about top of the elbows. Those threes, anything from stretching from the corner up to where the arc actually is, where it curves. That's something that normal spacers are going to do. What he does is he spaces the court vertically. And I'm going to draw the arc for you real quick. He's going to space it like this. Because he's spacing it like this will allow them for a great pick and roll target. I am not really familiar with Walker Kessler as a pick and roll target. Obviously the Utah Jazz were actually one of the few teams in the league that just were completely avoidant of the idea of running pick and rolls. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. Obviously the Lakers did need a very defensive-minded big in mind because of that, and Walker Kessler certainly fits that role. But it is very strange that that's what they're deciding to do. I do not know how this will work out. It's very interesting to me. By the way, 4 years, 130 million is not crazy to me. Let's see, what is that? Break it off the top of your head, buddy. Let's see. No, am I kidding? I'm gonna pull up the calculator. Look, I can do this math, but it's not really something I'm interested in doing right now. 13 divided by 4, that's 30. That's basically 30, and then what? $32.5 million a season. I don't think this is a crazy contract for a guy who's getting extended off his rookie deal. It could have been a max, but it's not. But yeah, that's not bad. I do respectfully think the Utah Jazz were trying to lowball him and then Danny Ainge, but like getting this much value out of him is actually worked out pretty fine for them. Mamu has agreed to a 4-year, $52 million deal to become a Los Angeles Laker. He was a former Toronto Raptors player. With them getting a Kawhi Leonard, they do not need him, Mamu, nearly as much as they once did. And I think that it would be foolish for him to have signed that contract that extend the contract that he had previously. Mamu is getting to play in Los Angeles. Good for him. I'm not really. It's fully guaranteed, by the way, but I'm not really in love with this deal. It's something. The Lakers have made a lot of moves. I think this is is an interesting one that I'll be looking out to do. But I think the Lakers fans are going to hate this guy really soon. Speaking of guys, I know the Lakers are going to actually have to hate. Quentin Grimes signing a 4-year, $60 million contract. Quentin Grimes, respectfully, I thought this motherfucker was going to be out of the league after this contract. I did not see them extending him. I thought that with the New York Knicks giving up on him and they having success, with the Sixers having him, right, and having him get on this contract, where they had to get rid of Jarrett McCain, by the way. They got rid of Jarrett McCain to pay this nigga. I swear the Sixers are just malpractice. They're the malpractice organization. Holy fuck. And whether that be medical malpractice or signing contract malpractice. This is like, I did not think he'd be in the league right now. I'm going to be honest. After that deal. Good for him on that. That's something. Colin Sexton getting a bag from the Lakers. 2 years, $19 million. Another guard where I'm like, yeah, bro. Thought you'd be out of the league. I do not know how Quentin Grimes is going to... Quentin Grimes I've seen actually play in Dallas, but I don't think it was with Luka. It was not. So, I don't know. DeAnthony Melton is returning back to the Golden State Warriors for 2 years, $11 million. So refresh the page. We'll see if that's it. But, again, there's been a lot of moves, but it's not really... A lot of this stuff you have to take with a grain of salt, and you really have to picture the entire team with them and not just look at the guy. Yeah, that's the last move. There's a player option in this deal for him. That's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about what Robert Pelinka has done so far this offseason. He's extended... Sorry, this sweeper's going on. I'll be right back. We're going to pause this video, and then I'll come back to deal with that. All right, so the street sweepers have moved down the street, so you're not going to probably hear them ever. All right, let's talk about the Lakers and what they've done as a whole. They've gotten more supporting cast. They've gotten some more guards. They had to replace, obviously, the big loss for Luke Kennard. They had to replace that guy. They got Colin Sexton, who's a very scrappy guard who's willing to play defense. That is something that they got. I think just having Marcus Smart back on the roster would have probably been better, especially considering how well he shot from three during the playoffs. And even when his three wasn't falling, he was finding new ways to be impactful. I would have rather had him, but he's on the roster. Quentin Grimes. How do I feel about Quentin Grimes over Luke Kennard? I'll tell you what, I don't like it. I don't really particularly care for it. I think it's a really bad move. I think it's going to turn to bite them in the ass when they really need shooting. Quentin Grimes was absolutely abhorrent for the Sixers, and I thought that he should not be in the league right now. So that's something. To give him a 4-year, $60 million contract is quite insane. In fact, it has a player option in it. I do not like that at all. They obviously needed to lock down some players. I do not think Quentin Grimes is going to be the punch off the bench that niggas think he is. I think the Lakers are going to fall down in the standings. I do not think they will be as good as they were last year, and that is with injuries. Now, they did finally get that defensive big that they needed, and having Jackson Hayes and not having to have DeAndre Ayton in the starting lineup is a massive upside. I do know for a fact, despite that I haven't watched Utah Jazz, that he will roll to the rim harder than DeAndre Ayton because a 5-year-old could roll to the rim harder than DeAndre Ayton. So there's that. That is great news for the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that this helps a lot. They've secured Austin Reeves. That's another move that they did. I think I talked about that, but regardless, I do really just not like the guards that they chose. I would have rather stayed packed with Luke Kennard, especially considering how well JJ was able to utilize him, even when his three wasn't falling, especially in that Rockets series. I would have kept him, and I would have kept Marcus Smart, respectfully. Maybe in addition they could have gotten Colin Sexton on the team, but like, yeah, no. For Bronny fans, well, it was good while it lasted, right, guys? His contract's still guaranteed. He'll be fine. Not that anyone's worried about the son of a billionaire not being fine all of a sudden. Yeah, he'll be fine. As far as Mamu being on the team, Mamu was solid for the Raptors in the postseason. Again, I did not watch as much Raptors basketball as I would have liked to, and I probably should have. I will be watching a lot more Raptors basketball this season. Obviously, it is certainly something to look forward to. I think that he's a solid player. He's a very defensive-minded player. I think JJ can get as much out of him as he can. I think he can do that. That can be something that'll be useful for them. I think that these guys are nice. Let's see. So that's pretty much it for the Lakers. For the Rockets, what do I think about the Rockets offseason so far? I think getting Marcus Smart is a big swing. I don't think his shooting will continue on this team, really. But it's something that it helps out. I think he need a defensive guard, and just maybe he'll be able to mentor Reed Shepard into just being a slightly better NBA player. I don't know about that, but yeah, that's something. Having Fred VanVleet coming back, that's a lot. This team still really needs a guard playmaking, and ball handling. They're still stuck with Sengun, so I guess having another defensive-minded guard on the in the backcourt can help a little bit, but I just think that you having Sengun is going to make you a bad defense. Sengun needs to become a better player for this team to do anything. Amen Thompson is still... Sorry. Actually... Yeah, this one's Amen Thompson. Osari's on the Pistons. Sorry. I think it's something. I think it's interesting. I do not have really good thoughts about it so far. I think this basically ensures that he will not be getting the ball handling responsibilities. He's probably going to need to have a longer NBA career. I think that... and by the way, I haven't seen anything about this nigga in the gym practicing his shot. Anything about either of the twins doing that. They cannot let this role of being some of the greatest defenders in the league get to their head. They need to develop a shot. Any shot. Whether that be a mid-range shot, and which, again, it's ill-advised on the Rockets, and it's ill-advised on the Pistons as well. They really do need spacing. I just need them to be able to catch and shoot open threes when Cade gives these niggas a rock, or KD gives these niggas a rock, or Shagu gives these niggas a rock. Either way, these twins need to learn to space the fucking court. Their defense is amazing, but their lack of shooting, especially on the teams that they're on, as poorly constructed as the rosters around them are for them to succeed, that needs to be addressed. And realistically, if they were going to have long NBA careers, that is something that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. For the Clippers, you are completing a retool. I'm surprised that you were able to get out of James Harden. I'm surprised you were able to get out of Kawhi Leonard as easily as you had. You got two former All-Stars out of both of those deals. Congratulations on that. You let Paul George walk for absolutely nothing, and congratulations, that did not backfire on you either. The Clippers are looking a lot smarter than a lot of people have given them credit for. Congratulations to the Clippers for that. Realistically, the Clippers are not competing for fucking anything though. But it was smart to get out of those deals while you still could. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, I absolutely fucking hate this offseason, and with a burning passion, I'm putting my fandom on hold. We will no longer consider ourselves Cleveland Cavaliers fans as long as that fat bastard James Harden is on my team, and as long as this team finds itself losing out on talent and depth. Mind you, this team does not have picks that are going to be valuable. They are stuck. They're going to be stuck. I would much rather this team blow it all the way down than deal with this shit. Do not give James Harden a contract. If that means you have to lose out on Donovan Mitchell, lose out on Donovan Mitchell. If that means that Evan Mobley and Jared... I don't even think Evan Mobley or Jared Allen would give a fuck about this team being bad. Jared Allen, because one, he's got a really good community in Cleveland. He's just really cool, and I think he's really down with just being on this team, especially if the team's going to pay him. And then as far as Evan Mobley, that ain't no problem. As long as my lineup's still sharp and niggas think that I'm cool and niggas are not gonna ask me to develop into like some ball handler or something that I'm clearly not, I don't care that Donovan Mitchell's gone, bro. I'll probably get some more touches. I think they're stuck doing this because they made that dumbass James Harden deal. The trade. I hate this. And losing D Wade for nothing? I would have rather you just drafted another point guard. This was a talented draft class. You could have just drafted another point guard. You should have drafted another point guard, to be quite honest. If James Harden was still good, you would just patch it up. So as far as the Phoenix Suns so far, their acquisitions of Miles and Luke, I think that's pretty good. For as far as the Nets, what I've gotten from them and gauged from them, especially the way they're doing these mutually agreed to contracts, I think they're pretty interesting. These might be the norm for teams that have to overpay on some guys. I think these will be interesting, really. I'm not mad at it, especially considering the Brooklyn Nets don't have any expectations to do anything. For Boston right now, you gave up on Vucevic, and you lost out on, who else did you lose out on? I don't think you've been able to move Jaylen Brown. You're getting any closer to moving Jaylen Brown, so there's that. The Portland Trailblazers apparently think that Ja Morant is the big fish and that they were not retooling and moving the guys around so they would have enough guards on the roster when they had to trade for him. So that's interesting. They're just going to run with 4 starting caliber guards on the team, which is like... And Scoot's development is going to be halted yet even more. Like, I just... I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Miami's looking pretty good after acquiring another shooter. That's really good for them. The Bucks are super whatever. Don't care. Jack Landale, I did not talk about this move at all. Jack Landale is going back to the Atlanta Hawks for a 1-year, $14 million deal. I think it's very good. He's another one of those big guys in Utah that they gave up on. I wonder why they gave up on him. I don't know why. He got his lick back. So I'm going to be, for forever in my lifetime, and as long as he's playing in the NBA, Jock Landale fan for that moment alone. Yeah, sorry. Eyelashes keep getting in my eyes. It's really bad. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I've said so many times in this video, but like, there has not been a lot of words to say, and it's been weird breaking down some moves that are like not really as impactful as a lot of people might think at first, but they are very crucial. Role players are as important as they've ever been in the NBA. It's very important to think about those guys and how they fit around these rosters and what that really means if they're going to be doing more moves in the future as far as roster construction. With all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Bye. I'm having a great day. And you have one too.